Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. When was the last time you demanded more from yourself than comfort would allow? Most men today are starving not for food, but for purpose. They scroll, they dream, but they rarely train, rarely think, rarely command. You hear because something inside you is not asleep. And this speech, it isn't for the man who wants motivation. It's for the one who is ready for transformation. So stay, not because I ask you to, but because something inside you must remember who you are meant to become. There is a kind of man who does not wait for strength. He creates it day by day, breath by breath, rep by rep. He trains not to look powerful, but to be powerful. He doesn't complain, he doesn't announce, he works in silence, with purpose, because he knows strength is not what you show, it's what you live through. To train like a warrior is to walk toward pain willingly, to stretch beyond what is easy, to deny comfort its crown. You learn quickly your greatest enemy is your own weakness, begging for mercy. But you do not negotiate with it, you dominate it. And then there's the mind, and the king's throne. You see, training the body without mastering the mind is like sharpening a sword with no purpose. It cuts everything, including the one who holds it. The king within you must rise. He doesn't react to every whisper. He isn't moved by insult or praise. He thinks before he moves. He chooses his battles. He sees what others do not. Power without wisdom is destruction. Wisdom without power is slavery. You must have both. You must become both. The path to mastery is not given. It's earned in the cold early mornings, in the moments where you feel forgotten. It is carved in silence, in rejection, in solitude. But solitude for the wise is not suffering. It is sculpting. A true warrior does not train to fight others. He trains to conquer himself. Every moment of discipline becomes a deposit into the kingdom he will one day rule. Every refusal to quit builds a throne in his soul. And in time, something shifts. He no longer trains because he must. He trains because it is who he is. He no longer thinks like the crowd. He thinks like a king, strategic, patient, visionary, unshaken by the chaos beneath him. I ask you now not to impress me, but to answer yourself. Are you training like a warrior? Are you thinking like a king? Or are you still hoping life will get easier? Because it will. But you can get stronger. You must get stronger. The world does not need more men who chase validation. It needs men who build empires from discipline and rule from clarity. Be that man. And remember, greatness is not given. It is forged. A warrior does not wait for the perfect mood or the right energy. He doesn't wake up and ask, do I feel like it today? Because he knows that emotions are unreliable companions. They come and go like the weather. Sunny one moment, storming the next. And if you build your life around how you feel, you'll be nothing but a leaf in the wind, drifting without direction. Discipline, on the other hand, is a fixed point in a moving world. It is the anchor, the foundation. It is what separates the one who dreams from the one who becomes. Imagine a man waking up before dawn, eyes heavy, body sore, and yet he moves, not because motivation struck him like lightning, but because discipline whispered, get up. That whisper is enough, because he has trained himself to listen, not to comfort, but to calling. He knows that progress is not built in comfort. It is built in resistance. The more you resist the pull of ease, the closer you get to the version of yourself you were born to become. Discipline is not just about pushing yourself, it's about redefining who you are. Each repetition, when you're tired, each decision to keep going when quitting is easy, that's you declaring, I am not a slave to my emotions. And this declaration, though silent, echoes in everything you do. It rewires your brain. It restructures your soul. You stop being reactive, and you start becoming intentional. People often ask, how do I become consistent? The answer is simple, though not easy. You stop asking for permission from your feelings. You stop checking in with your mood. You act as if you already are the man you want to become. You move like he would. You eat like he would. You train like he would. Because eventually, if you do it enough times, you become him. And you look at the most disciplined men in the world, they don't rely on hype or applause. Their lives are structured around routines. Their greatness isn't built on viral moments. It's built in quiet repetitions done for years. They don't train when they feel like warriors. They train to become warriors. Every day, they show up and execute. It's not emotional, it's not glamorous, it's sacred. This is why discipline over emotion is not just a slogan, it's a strategy for life. Emotion might help you start, but only discipline will help you finish. Emotion may make you feel powerful for a day, but discipline makes you unshakable for a lifetime. When emotion fades, and it always does, discipline remains. A warrior doesn't ask, how do I feel? He asks, what must be done? And he does it. Not for glory, not for validation, but because it is who he is. He knows the world does not reward the man who tries only when he's inspired. It rewards the man who executes when no one is watching. Every time you override your feelings and act with discipline, you win a battle within yourself. A small battle, yes. But these victories add up. They create momentum, and they turn into mastery. The man ruled by emotion will always be inconsistent. One day he'll rise, the next he'll fall. But the disciplined man, he rises regardless, because he's not dependent on energy. He creates it. This is the essence of true strength. It's not found in hype or motivation. It's not loud. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. Quiet, consistent, relentless. The man who builds his life on discipline will outlast the one who builds his life on moods. Every time, ask yourself today, not what you feel like doing, but what you're called to do, and then do it, regardless. Again and again, until your very existence becomes a living reminder that discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Emotion is fleeting, but discipline is sovereign. And the man who bows to discipline rises as a king. The body is the temple, and the mind is the throne. Both must be built, and both must be ruled. A warrior understands that his strength begins not only with muscle, but with meaning. He trains his body to be unbreakable, not for vanity, but for utility. Every rep is a brick in the fortress of resilience. Every drop of sweat is a purification of weakness. But he also knows this truth. Without a clear and disciplined mind, that body becomes a wild weapon, easily turned against its master. This is why the journey toward greatness is not just physical. It is mental, spiritual, and intentional. Your body is the outer wall. It protects you. It carries you through adversity. It speaks long before your words do. It says, I'm disciplined, I'm ready, I don't quit. When you walk into a room, your posture, your presence, your physical energy Tell the world who you are before your name is even spoken. But if that same man, with strength in his bones, has chaos in his thoughts, he will fall. He may lift heavy, run fast, strike hard, but he will make foolish decisions, speak without awareness, act without wisdom. He may conquer others, but remain a stranger to himself. That's why a true warrior must also be a king in thought. A king rules with vision. He does not react to every challenge with emotion. He responds with clarity. The mind of a king is calm under pressure. It sees beyond the surface. It looks ahead. While others panic, he plans. While others shout, he stays silent and calculates. He does not waste his strength fighting battles that do not matter. He chooses when to move. And when he moves with certainty. To train like a warrior is to honor the body, to feed it well, to rest it with discipline, to push it to grow stronger. But to think like a king is to discipline your thoughts, your focus, your attention. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. Most men today are distracted, always looking outward, never inward. But the king is different. He guards his mind like a fortress. He doesn't let weak thoughts linger. He confronts them. He replaces them with strategy, purpose, and conviction. The path of mastery demands that you build both. The body that can endure and the mind that can decide. You can be strong enough to carry the weight, but are you wise enough to know what is worth carrying? You can be fast, but are you going in the right direction? You can be powerful, but are you guided by something greater than ego? That is why a man must live in balance. The temple must be built, but the throne must be ruled. It is not enough to simply become hard. You must become wise, not just aggressive, but aware, not just fast, but focused. The man who achieves this balance becomes unstoppable. His strength is not just in his arms, it's in his thoughts. His posture is not just physical, it's mental. He doesn't just train to move, he trains to lead. Himself first, then others. It's easy to chase one and neglect the other. Some men train their bodies and neglect their minds. They become warriors without kings, wild, impulsive, reactionary. Others sit in thought and neglect their bodies. They become kings without warriors, wise but fragile, full of plans but lacking force. True greatness requires both. A sharpened sword and a steady hand, a hardened body and a focused mind. One without the other is incomplete. But together, they form a force that commands life instead of serving it. Your temple and your throne are not built in a day. They are constructed over time with daily effort and unwavering intention. You are not training just to look good. You are not thinking just to feel smart. You are building the foundation of a life that cannot be broken. You are becoming the man others look to in chaos. You are becoming the man who does not flinch, does not fold, does not flee. You are becoming a warrior in form and a king in thought. Build your temple with strength. Rule your throne with wisdom. The world may not understand your discipline. It may not see your quiet sacrifice, but you will know. And that knowing, that inner strength, is what will carry you through storms, through setbacks, through every war life places in your path. Because the man who trains like a warrior and thinks like a king is not merely surviving, he is mastering. Suffering is the gateway to strength. It is the furnace in which character is forged, the silent teacher that strips away illusion and builds resilience from the ruins of comfort, yet most men run from it. They avoid discomfort as if it is something unnatural, something to be medicated, silenced, or numbed. But the truth is simple and unchanging. Without suffering, there is no transformation. Without pain, there is no growth. A warrior understands this, not intellectually, but experientially. He has walked through fire. He has bled. He has broken. And he has risen. You cannot build true strength in the absence of hardship. Strength does not come from reading books or repeating affirmations. It comes from standing in the storm when every part of you wants to run. It comes from refusing to quit when everything in you aches for escape. That moment when you want to stop, when your mind screams for mercy, and yet you keep moving forward. That's the moment you become more than who you were. That's the moment your old self dies and something greater is born. People think suffering is punishment, but suffering is a call. It is life saying, wake up, pay attention. There is something here for you. And there always is. Within every painful moment lies a lesson, a test, a sharpening. But only the man who stays with it long enough will receive the gift on the other side. Most never do. They numb the pain with distractions, run from the discomfort, blame others, curse their circumstances. They never realize that the very pain they run from is the path to everything they desire: strength, wisdom, clarity, and peace. The man who embraces suffering is not broken by it. He is remade. He begins to see difficulty not as the enemy, but as the architect of his power. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every setback becomes fuel. He doesn't ask, why is this happening to me? He asks, what is this shaping in me? That shift in mindset is everything, because once you stop avoiding pain and start using it, life becomes your training ground. Everything becomes a lesson. Nothing is wasted. There is a kind of strength that can only be built in the dark, when no one is watching, when there is no applause, when you are left alone with your thoughts and your will. This is where the real transformation happens, not in moments of comfort, but in moments of pressure. And in those moments, a choice must be made. Will you fold, or will you forge forward? Step by step, even when it hurts, the warrior chooses to move, not because he enjoys the pain, but because he understands what it creates. He knows that suffering is the sharpening stone, and he is the blade. Without resistance, there is no edge. Without pressure, there is no strength. Without fire, there is no steel. Pain is not the obstacle. It is the invitation. Something powerful happens. The man who once feared pain begins to trust it. He begins to see it as a necessary companion. He learns to sit in it, breathe through it, grow from it. He becomes unmoved by minor inconveniences. He becomes calm in chaos. Why? Because he has already endured worse. Because he has faced suffering and refused to break. That experience becomes the foundation of his confidence. He doesn't just appear strong, he knows he is. True power is quiet. It doesn't need to be shown. It radiates from within. It's in the way a man stands, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself through difficulty. And that power is built in suffering, not once, but over and over again. Every time you choose discipline over ease, every time you keep your head up in the face of defeat, every time you rise again, you build strength. No one can take from you. Don't fear suffering. Welcome it. Let it refine you. Let it burn away your weakness, your excuses, your illusions. Stand in the fire and know that you are being shaped, not punished, shaped. Because only through suffering does a man discover who he truly is and who he is capable of becoming. The warrior understands this. He trains for it. He expects it. He does not resist the weight. He carries it. And in doing so, he becomes the very thing others look to in times of chaos. not because he has no scars, but because his scars have become his armor. This is strength. This is transformation. This is the path. A king doesn't react, he commands. This is the difference between a man who is led by emotion and a man who leads with presence. The majority of people are constantly reacting to words, to situations, to people's opinions, to unexpected turns in life. They're pulled in every direction by the external world because internally they have no center, no throne. But a true king, he has built that inner throne. He does not flinch at every challenge. He does not raise his voice to be heard. He doesn't need to prove himself because he already knows who he is. By reacting is easy, it's automatic. Someone offends you, you lash out. A plan fails, you panic. You feel slighted. You retaliate. That this pattern is not power. It's weakness wearing the mask of passion. The man who is always reacting is not in control. He's being controlled by triggers, by ego, by fear. And a man who cannot govern himself will never rule anything else. Not his mind, not his life, not his destiny. On the other hand, is deliberate. It is slow when necessary, fast when required, but always grounded. A king chooses his words. He chooses his actions. He waits when others rush. He speaks when silence would be cowardice. And he is silent when others shout just to be noticed. His power does not come from force. It comes from presence. There is something in him that says, I am not moved by chaos. I move through it. This kind of strength is rare because it requires something deeper than physical power. It demands mastery of the self. You must know your triggers, your wounds, your instincts, and then train them, discipline them. The mind of a king is not born, it is built. And it is built through experience, reflection, and the brutal honesty of asking yourself, am I leading right now or merely reacting? The modern world rewards reaction. Outrage, gossip, emotional outbursts. They get attention. They go viral. But they don't build legacy. They don't command respect. What people respect, truly, is the man who can stay calm when everyone else is drowning in emotion. The man who can see 10 moves ahead while others are still caught in the moment. That man is dangerous. Not because he is violent, but because he is controlled. There's a reason kings sit on thrones while warriors march into battle. The king must see the whole board. He cannot afford to be emotional. He must act with intention. Every decision matters. Every movement ripples. When you think like a king, you stop wasting your energy proving things to people who don't matter. You start conserving your power for things that do. This doesn't mean a king is passive. It doesn't mean he tolerates disrespect. Quite the opposite. But he responds with precision, not impulse. He doesn't attack out of insecurity. He eliminates threats with quiet finality. There is no panic, no performance, only purpose. That's real strength. Quiet, unshakable, focused. To reach this level, a man must train. Just like a warrior trains his body, the king trains his mind. He studies himself. He observes without judgment. When anger rises, he notices it, contains it, and uses it wisely. When fear creeps in, he doesn't suppress it. He stares it down until it obeys. He is not a slave to emotions. He is the master of them. And in that mastery, he becomes immovable. This power is earned, not given. It is forged through failure, through restraint, through making the hard choice to pause when everything in you wants to explode. It's built when you learn that silence can be stronger than shouting, and that stillness is not weakness but readiness. A king doesn't play games with clowns. He doesn't attend every argument he's invited to. He chooses his battles, and more importantly, he chooses his response. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves your reaction. And once you realize that, you stop leaking power, and you start owning it. If you want to lead yourself first. Don't be ruled by your urges, your past, or your pride. Build the discipline to respond with strength instead of emotion. Let others be loud, desperate for attention. You stay quiet, focused on the mission. Because when you command your mind, your emotions, and your actions, you become a man who doesn't chase power. You embody it. Most people move through life with no direction. They chase comfort, distraction, and validation, hoping that somehow the pieces will fall into place. But a man of mastery does not wander. He walks with intention. He does not follow the path laid by others. He carves his own. This is the power of purpose. It is the fire behind discipline, the clarity behind silence, the reason behind every decision. Without purpose, a man is just busy. With purpose, every action becomes sacred. Every breath becomes a step toward destiny. You can train your body, sharpen your mind, and discipline your habits. But if you don't know why you do what you do, you will burn out. You will grow tired, because without purpose, effort becomes a burden. But when you're connected to something greater, something deeper, effort becomes devotion, discipline becomes joy, pain becomes fuel. You stop asking, do I feel like it today? And start saying, this is who I am. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. It gives weight to every decision. A man who knows his purpose doesn't waste time. He doesn't drown in distractions. He isn't swayed by trends or swamped by opinions. He moves differently, speaks differently, thinks differently. He knows that every day is a brick in the life he is building, and he refuses to lay it carelessly. His time becomes sacred. His energy becomes sacred, not because he's better than others, but because he knows exactly where he's going. Without purpose, strength is dangerous, intelligence is wasted, wealth is empty. But with purpose, even suffering becomes valuable. You begin to realize that not everything painful is bad, and not everything easy is good. You become willing to endure discomfort, setbacks, and solitude because you see the higher path. You understand that your life is not about impressing others. It's about answering a call that only you can hear. A call that grows louder in silence. A call that becomes impossible to ignore once you taste it. Most men spend their lives chasing pleasure because they've never tasted purpose. Pleasure gives you a moment. Purpose gives you a mission. And once you've experienced the power of waking up every day with a clear reason, you stop chasing cheap highs. You stop running from pain. You stop looking for shortcuts. You lock in, you commit, you endure. And here's the truth. Purpose doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't come to the distracted. It comes to the disciplined. To the man who silences the noise, who turns inward, who sits alone with his thoughts and asks the hard questions. Why am I here? What am I willing to suffer for? Who do I want to become when no one is watching? When those answers begin to form, even faintly, your entire life starts to align. You start cutting off the unnecessary. You start saying no to things that once excited you. Not because you've lost energy, but because you've gained vision. The clearer the purpose, the fewer the distractions. And in that clarity, you find power. Power to stay the course when things get hard, power to rise again when life knocks you down, power to keep moving when others stop. Purpose also humbles you. It shows you that your life is not about ego. It's not about being admired. It's about becoming useful. Becoming strong, not for applause, but for service. Becoming wise, not to look smart, but to lead. The man of purpose is not loud. He does not boast. He doesn't need to. His presence speaks. His actions speak. His life speaks. That is what truly separates the great from the average. Not talent, not luck, not resources, but clarity. The great know who they are. They know why they do what they do. And because of that, they don't quit. They don't sway. They don't shrink. They keep showing up day after day, year after year, because their mission is greater than their mood. Ask yourself, what is the fire behind your focus? What vision wakes you up when the world sleeps? What purpose are you willing to bleed for? The answer to those questions is not found in comfort. It's found in stillness, in honesty. And once you find it, everything changes. Your walk changes, your voice changes, your decisions change. Because a man with purpose doesn't just exist, he leads. Sacrifice is the currency of mastery. No man rises to greatness without first laying something down. Comfort, ease, pleasure, these are the chains that hold most men back from ever becoming who they were meant to be. You cannot become strong while clinging to softness. You cannot become wise while avoiding discomfort. You cannot lead if you are too afraid to lose. The man who reaches the highest peaks of strength and clarity is the one who was willing to leave behind the things others called necessary. Everyone says they want success. Everyone says they want power, discipline, and mastery. But very few are willing to pay the price, because the price is steep. It will cost you your distractions. It will cost you your laziness. It will cost you your comfort zones, your temporary pleasures, your late-night escapes, and your need to be liked. It might cost you relationships that no longer serve your growth. It might cost you your old identity, the version of you that settled for less, the version of you that broke under pressure. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's not something you can post online for likes. It happens in silence, in solitude. In the early mornings when you rise before the sun and the world still sleeps. In the late nights when you're refining your craft while others are relaxing. In the moments where you say no to temptation and yes to the path. Again and again and again. And for a long time, it will feel like no one sees you, like your efforts go unnoticed, like your discipline is wasted. But that is the testing ground. That is where real men are forged, because eventually the results will speak. The strength will show. The mastery will emerge. And when it does, people will ask how you did it. They'll think it was talent or luck or some hidden advantage. But you'll know. You'll know it was sacrifice. The years of unseen effort, the hard choices, the moments you could have quit but didn't, the internal war you fought and won day after day. You see, sacrifice is not just about giving things up, it's about making room for something greater. When you say no to distraction, you say yes to focus. When you walk away from comfort, you walk into resilience. When you let go of what is easy, you embrace what is meaningful. Every sacrifice clears the path. Every sacrifice sharpens your edge. But here's the truth few will tell you. The things you cling to are the very things that weaken you. The comfort you protect is the reason you feel stuck. The pleasure you chase is the root of your distraction. The validation you seek is what keeps you small. To become powerful, you must release. You must look at your life with brutal honesty and ask, what am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? And then let it go. Not once, but repeatedly, as many times as necessary. Mastery is a narrow path. It doesn't allow for excess. It doesn't allow for indulgence. You carry only what is essential: focus, discipline, strength, clarity. Everything else must be burned away. And that burning, that cleansing, is painful, but it is sacred, because in that fire, the real you begins to emerge. There will be days when you question it, days when you feel the weight of what you've given up, days when the path seems too quiet, too long, too lonely. That's normal. That's part of it. But remember this: every man who ever became something greater walked through that same fire, and they didn't escape it. They endured it. They welcomed it, because they understood that sacrifice is not loss, it is investment. It is planting the seeds of power that will bloom in due time. So don't ask, what can I keep? Ask, what must I release? Don't ask, how much can I get? Ask, what am I willing to give? Because in the end, you will not be remembered for what you clung to. You will be remembered for what you built, what you became. And that becoming always begins with sacrifice. Put it freely, daily. Let it refine you. Let it shape you. Let it strip away everything false until only the essential remains. That is the path. That is the price. That is the truth of those who rise. Man does not become powerful by accident. Power is not stumbled upon, gifted, or inherited in any lasting way. It is earned, piece by piece, in solitude, in silence, in the unseen hours when no one is watching. The man who becomes formidable, unshakable, sovereign over his own life is the one who walks the lonely path without complaint. He understands that solitude is not a punishment, it is preparation. I think it is the proving ground for the mind, the body, and the spirit. Most men fear being alone. They fear the silence, the stillness, the absence of validation. They need noise, they need distraction, they need people around to feel significant. But this is exactly what weakens them. Because the man who needs the world to reflect his worth has not yet found it within himself. And if the world were to go quiet, if everyone were to walk away, he would collapse. But the man who builds in solitude, he stands. Because he has built something real, something solid, something self-sustaining. In solitude, you meet your true self, not the version you perform in public, not the mask you wear for acceptance, the real you, the one beneath the noise. And what you find there may not be pretty. You may face insecurities, doubts, regrets. You may feel the full weight of your past, the burden of your unfulfilled potential. But this confrontation is necessary, because you cannot conquer what you refuse to face. And in solitude there is nowhere to run. That is why it is sacred. That is why it builds strength no crowd ever could. A man who trains alone learns to depend on his own discipline. There's no one to motivate him, no one to clap for him, no one to push him forward. He must summon that force from within. He must get up when no one sees it, work when no one appreciates it, grind when no one rewards it. And in doing so, he becomes powerful beyond measure, because he is no longer controlled by applause. He doesn't need permission to progress. He is self-initiated, self-leaded, self-governed. When you learn to be alone, you learn to hear clearly. The world's opinions quiet, the comparisons fade, the doubts lose volume, and what remains is clarity. You begin to know what truly matters to you. what your values are, what you're building, what kind of man you are becoming. This is the kind of clarity that gives you an edge over the distracted, the scattered, the noisy. While they chase attention, you are building foundation. Solitude also teaches restraint. It teaches patience. In a world that celebrates urgency and noise, the man who can wait, the man who can endure the silence, is a rare force. Because he's not chasing instant gratification, he's building something timeless. And when he finally speaks, people listen. When he finally moves, it's precise. Because everything he does comes from depth, not desperation. The lonely path is also where true confidence is forged. Not bravado, not arrogance, but real, earned confidence. The kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself, from overcoming your own mind, from pushing through discomfort and proving to yourself again and again that you are capable, that you are disciplined, that you are enough. That kind of confidence doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to dominate others. It simply exists, calm and unbothered. There is a paradox in this path. The more time you spend in solitude, the more magnetic you become, because you radiate something different. Stillness, certainty, presence. And people feel it, even if they can't explain it. They trust it. They're drawn to it. Not because you seek approval, but because you've detached from it. You found something deeper than performance, authentic power. Walk the lonely path. Embrace the silence. Let it strip away the noise and force you to meet yourself. Let it teach you discipline, focus, resilience. Let it prepare you for the weight of the crown you're building to wear. Because when the day comes that the world finally takes notice, when the results begin to show, when people begin to ask how you did it, you'll know. You'll know that it was those silent days, those early mornings, those long nights in solitude that made you, and no one can take that from you. The lonely path is not for the weak, but it is the path of those who rise, those who rule, those who are remembered, not for how loud they were, but for how powerfully they stood in the silence. Mastery is not found in speed, it is found in stillness. In a world obsessed with fast results, instant validation, and constant motion, the idea of slowing down feels like failure. But the truth is, real power moves quietly. Real transformation happens beneath the surface, in the places others can't see. A man who truly understands the path to greatness knows that patience is not weakness, it's strategy. He knows that rushing is what amateurs do. Masters, on the other hand, wait. They study, they prepare. They let the vision ripen. The stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the presence of control. A still mind is not inactive, it is alert. It is focused, intentional, and deeply aware. When you train yourself to slow down your thoughts, to sit with your desires, to observe your fears without reacting, you begin to see clearly. You begin to think ahead. You begin to move with wisdom, not just energy. And that changes everything. Because when the world is running blindly toward urgency, the man who is calm becomes unshakable. Most people mistake movement for progress. They stay busy to avoid discomfort. They fill their days with noise so they don't have to face the silence. But mastery demands the opposite. It requires you to pause, to listen, to reflect. You cannot sharpen your sword if you're swinging it wildly. You cannot master your mind if you never stop to observe it. Every true warrior understands this. The battle is won before the sword is drawn, in strategy, in foresight, in the ability to act. Only when the time is right. To cultivate stillness is to claim your power back. It means you're no longer reactive. You're no longer at the mercy of the world's chaos. You're no longer tossed around by every challenge, every criticism, every impulse. Instead, you respond with precision. You speak when it's time. You move when it's wise. You conserve your energy for the things that truly matter. That is how kings move. That is how warriors endure. Stillness also teaches you presence. In this world of distraction, presence is rare and powerful. When you're fully present, you listen differently. You see differently. You learn faster. You connect deeper. You become a man who isn't living in the past or running toward the future. You're right here, right now, fully engaged. And that presence, over time, becomes mastery. Because what you give your full attention to, you begin to understand. And what you understand, you begin to control. But make no mistake, stillness is hard. It forces you to face the parts of yourself that you've buried beneath movement. It will expose your restlessness, your anxiety, your need for stimulation. It will show you how easily you run from yourself. But if you stay with it, if you don't flinch, don't run, you begin to shift. You begin to calm the chaos within. And from that inner calm, your true strength rises. Stillness is also where clarity lives. It's where you hear your own voice again beneath the noise of the world. It's where your real values, your real goals, your real identity become visible. Without it, you're just copying others. But with it, you become original. You become rooted. You stop following the crowd because you've found your own compass. And it doesn't shake under pressure. The most dangerous man in any room is not the loudest, it is the one who observes, the one who doesn't need to prove himself, the one who has trained himself to be still, to think before he speaks, to move only with purpose. That man is underestimated at first, but never forgotten, because when he finally moves, it's decisive, and when he speaks, it's remembered. Slow down. Stop trying to outrun yourself. Sit in the silence. Train your mind to be still. And understand that this too is training. This too is power. Because mastery is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like a man sitting quietly, sharpening his mind while the rest of the world chases shadows. That man is not behind. He's ahead, because when the moment comes, he will be ready, and everyone else will still be reacting. Stillness is your edge. Protect it. Practice it. Build your life on it. And in time, the world will notice the difference. Not in your noise, but in your presence. You were not made to stay small. You were not born to be ordinary, to blend in, to shrink yourself just to fit the comfort zones of others. There is something in you that is vast, untapped, and powerful, but it cannot emerge in a life ruled by fear. You will never become what you're meant to be if you're constantly hiding from discomfort, from failure, from exposure. Growth demands risk. Mastery demands courage. The man who rises is not the one who avoids the unknown, but the one who walks into it, again and again, knowing that greatness always lies on the other side of uncertainty. Every step toward a greater version of yourself requires you to let go of the familiar, and this is where most people retreat. They would rather cling to a life they've outgrown than face the discomfort of transformation. But comfort is a trap. It lulls you into mediocrity. It whispers lies, telling you this is enough, when deep down your soul is restless, hungry for more challenge, more growth, more depth. You feel the tension because the life you're living is smaller than the man you're becoming. To evolve, you must be willing to shed, to outgrow, to disappoint those who only knew the old version of you. People may say you've changed. They may criticize your silence, your intensity, your new focus. Let them. You are not here to remain palatable to the people who fear change. You are here to step fully into your strength, even if it means walking alone, especially if it means walking alone. The path of transformation is not smooth. You will be misunderstood. You will lose people. You will face doubt, both from others and from within. But this is the sacred price of evolution. When you decide to break the old patterns, you will feel the resistance, you will feel the pull of your old life trying to drag you back. And you must stand firm. You must say, I am no longer that man. I choose growth. I choose to face the fire. That fire is uncomfortable. It will burn away your excuses. It will test your identity. It will force you to confront your habits, your beliefs, your fears. But it is only through that fire that you are reborn. You cannot bypass this process. There are no shortcuts to real transformation. You must walk through the storm to become the storm. You must fall and rise and fall again, each time stronger, sharper, clearer in who you are and who you're becoming. The beauty of this path is that every version you outgrow brings you closer to your core, closer to your purpose, closer to your power. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop chasing things to impress others and start building things that fulfill your soul. You stop needing permission and begin to lead your life with authority. This journey is not linear. Some days you will feel powerful. Other days you'll feel like you've lost your way. But remember, transformation isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. It's about refusing to go back. It's about holding the vision of your highest self and choosing in every moment to act in alignment with him, even when it's hard. And over time, something shifts. You begin to carry yourself differently. You begin to speak with clarity. You begin to make decisions with conviction. Because you are no longer guessing who you are. You know. You have faced the chaos and brought order. You have faced the fear and moved forward anyway. And that makes you powerful in a way that no external success ever could. Embrace the discomfort. Let it shape you. Let it challenge you. Let it force you to rise. You were not meant to stay in the same place forever. You were meant to grow, to lead, to evolve into something extraordinary. But it will never happen by accident. You must choose it. You must fight for it. And when you do, the world will feel the presence of a man who did not run from transformation, but mastered it. The path to mastery and strength is not a destination. It's a continuous journey of becoming. To train like a warrior and think like a king means embracing discipline, resilience, and stillness while stepping boldly into discomfort and transformation. It means moving with intention, cultivating a mind that is both fierce and calm, and refusing to settle for anything less than your highest potential. This journey demands sacrifice, patience, and courage, but it rewards you with true power, the power to shape your life on your terms, to rise above the noise, and to lead with unwavering confidence. Remember, greatness is not given. It is forged in the quiet moments of struggle and the fearless decisions to grow. Choose to walk this path fully, and you will become unstoppable.